Hello and welcome back to the Gold Newsletter channel. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the GLDC mining guy over on X, and together with our good friend Brien Lundin, I'm the host of the Gold Newsletter channel, and I'm looking forward to this company introduction today. I'm being joined by Marco Roque. He's the president and CEO over at Cassiar Gold, and we're going to dive deep into northern British Columbia. They have an interesting gold project with an established resource already, and we're going to learn how they're going to grow it, how are they going to maybe put it into production, and what the business plan overall is. The company's had a really active summer season here in 2024, and there's still some drill results pending that maybe Marco can shed some light on. Is like, where are they coming from? What does the company expect? And what do things look like overall? Now, without much further ado, I'm going to switch over to my guest, and then Marco, it is great to have you on the program. It is good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Kai. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you on. And maybe we'll start with a bit of a company introduction real quick. 30, 60 seconds. Give us an overview of Cassiar, and then we'll dive into some of the details, Marco.
Absolutely. So Cassiar Gold is a Canadian gold explorer. We are focused on our flagship district. The Cassiar Gold Project has 5 past producing mines. It's a massive district, 590 square kilometers. Because it's past producing, has mine permits already in place, great access, great infrastructure, a fully owned and permitted mill, portals, underground workings, tailings facilities, you name it. We have a resource of 1.4 million ounces right at surface at over a gram per ton, open for expansion laterally at depth, internal to the pit shell, and we have the potential for multiple satellite deposits. Our goal is really to eventually define a tier 1 district, which means at the end of the day, 5 million ounce plus.
Fantastic, awesome, really good intro. A lot of things we have to follow up on, of course, and we will do so in due course here. But second question I love to ask Marco is just the capital structure. What does it look like? What does the balance sheet look like, Marco?
Absolutely. So we have around $5 million in the bank. We have 127 million shares outstanding. Our market cap is roughly $22 million Canadian as we speak. All the numbers I mentioned are Canadian, by the way. We have fully diluted is 178. Our share price, 21, 22 cents as of end of last week. And we have, all of our warrants are between 50 and 70 cents. And if they get all exercised, which they expire within the next year and a half, we could see $20 million coming into the treasury potentially. And roughly insider ownership's 12, 13%. Insiders buying every single private placement. We've also built an institutional shareholder base in the last 4.5 years, from 0 to almost 30% of our share registry. And myself specifically, I've put in just under $500,000 into the company in the last 12 months. So did our chairman. He actually did put in over $500,000 either through private placements or buying in the open market.
Yeah, that share registry is quite impressive. Look at your presentation here on the other screen, and it's quite impressive deck you've got there of institutional shareholders. Just to name a few, maybe Delbrook, Sprott, US Global have been attracted to the company. So that's a nice feed. Just real quick on the warrants, you mentioned the exercise price, 50 to 70 cents. We're ways out of the money. I'm usually worried when I see like 30 million or 40 million warrants almost outstanding that they're a bit of an overhang, that there's a ceiling. But I think there's some room, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of room. First of all, I think the stock would have more than double to actually see those warrants exercised, or to see them in the money, better said. And at the same time, you look at what we have, look at our market cap. It could be a little bit of an overhang if people exercise it and they sell it, or it could just mean you can get basically a self-finance mechanism where when a project like this gets fully valued, you'd expect it could be worth, potentially a lot more than it is today. And maybe it's a way to deny any further dilution from share issuance, and basically have the warrants as a self-financing mechanism for the next year or a couple of years. So, it is what it is. It's you can see it as a glass half full or a glass half empty.
No, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and when it comes to this, because they're so far out of the money that it's like, I'm usually worried, like when we talk to companies and they have, I don't know, they're trading at 19 cents and then there's 30 million warrants at 20 cents. I was like, okay, that's going to be a tough one. So unless you have major catalysts, of course, and we'll get to your catalyst in a second, but there's room just to get to 50 cents. I'd be a happy camper, to be quite honest. So that's looking positive. I think we covered it on the cap side. Like, you have some institutional coverage as well. Maybe you can share some of that. Who's covering you, and what are sort of their recommendations?
Yeah, so like we have actually quite a bit of newsletter writer coverage. We have Lobo Tigre, for example, and Jeff Clark, just to name a few. We also have good kind of a brokerage research coverage as well with Red Cloud, a price target over $1 as well. We have notes from, for example, Canaccord, Genuity as well. Yeah, it's a kind of well-rounded. We'd like to have more, and we do expect to have more in the future. But I think we're pretty good, especially when you look at our market cap and our asset and the coverage that we have. I think it's quite good, but obviously we want to continue to improve on it as well.
Oh, absolutely. No, once you grow, that's what it happens. What's it? Natural progression. That's what that is. Marco, let's talk a bit about the project, of course. Let's talk about the history first. I'm trying to understand it. Like you mentioned, 5 past producing mines on the project. Give us a bit of a history lesson first, and maybe tell us how you acquired the project and how it ended up in Cassiar, and then we'll get to the here and now.
Absolutely. I mean, it really depends on how far back you want to go. I'll keep the really old history very, very short.
Please.
The Cassiar district, it's a gold rush district, and it really started. The gold rush started in the late 1800s. A massive 72-ounce gold nugget was found here. Not dissimilar to California or other Western North America gold rush locations. There was a lot of interest here. Kind of fast forward to the 70s or 80s, 90s, or in the 70s actually, you had multiple companies operating in this district on the land package that we control right now, 100%. Kind of going into 80s and 90s, you saw several companies starting production independently within our district. So we have 5 past producing mines there. We have a bunch of others exploring. Actually, several placer mining operations as well. Fast forwarding a little bit to the late 2000s, there's a group called Hawthorne that I guess identified this as a major district. And and basically amalgamated the entire district, acquire the different producers or past producers, acquiring the mill, a lot of the explorers, and basically put this entire district under one single roof. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, they actually try to rush to production, focusing on the high grade underground veins because there's a lot of near mine potential, the extensions of the known high-grade veins that are, running between 10 and 20 grams, were accessible through the underground working. So they were just, driving the last sections of the underground, wanted to restart production, refurb the mill, brought in some additional infrastructure to the district to start production equipment, etc. That didn't go very well for them. They basically ran out of money before they started production. Thankfully for us, I guess, a Chinese group called China Minerals and eventually Wild Sky took over the project with very very smart geological minds that kind of saw the potential, the massive potential of this district. And basically, at the end of the day, we partner with them. We acquired this project for shares. They remain strong shareholders. This was we optioned and eventually acquired at 100% in 2019 and in 2020. So that's when I joined. Just before we acquired it, I joined when we were just on an option agreement. We acquired the land package, and I guess since I joined, we've drilled 62,000 meter plus across the land package different throughout the years, and we've put out a resource in 2019, put out an updated resource. So the initial resource was 1 million ounces. In 2022, in early 2022, we increased our resource to 1.4 million ounces at 1.14 grams per ton is the current resource. Since that resource came out, we've drilled over 46,000 meters across the land package, very high hit ratio, almost 100%, expanding mineralization. And yeah, and I guess this year we've drilled another 7,200 meters, geophysics, mapping, sampling, and we have all of that news flow ahead of us together with the resource updates kind of in late Q1, early Q2 to continue to showcase basically the growth and the advancement we're having on this massive district.
Absolutely. No, that was a phenomenal overview there, Marco. And maybe just to follow up sort of on the acquisition, one question that popped into my head is about royalties. Anything on the project in terms of royalties?
Yeah, we do have a royalty on a small section of the resource, 2.5% royalty actually to Sable, which actually they were exploring this project back in the 90s, so that's kind of was grandfathered.
Hmm.
I prefer not to have that royalty, but it is what it is. I didn't sell it, but I certainly would like to have it. So.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. Before we get to the exploration program, I'm going to grill you a bit more on that. But I want to understand the permitting situation, or your permitting situation, the permits you have. What do they cover? Because they're mine permits. Like, what do they include? What can you do? What are you allowed to do? What does it mean for your exploration program?
Well, for the exploration program, it really doesn't mean much. I mean, we have obviously we have two mining permits to start with. We have the Taurus Gold mine permit, 1.2 square kilometers, covering most of the Taurus deposit, and then some more. And then to the south, we have a 20 square kilometer Table Mountain Cassiar South mine permit, covering the past producing high grade underground veins, the infrastructure that supports it, the mill, a couple of tailings facilities. We also have two tailings facilities in the north. So that's that puts us in a very unique position. The rest of it is covered by basically an exploration permit, a multi-year exploration permits. So for the exploration itself, it really doesn't mean much. But in a jurisdiction like British Columbia, which is relatively known for being relatively slow to permits, having mining permits already in place, it's a great asset or advantage to have, because re-permitting something is much easier than permitting something, especially when you're talking about a mining, a mining district that saw a lot of historical production. We have 5 past producing mines, we have 4 tailings facilities, etc. So that really shortens the permitting timelines substantially. We have projects in BC that have taken 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years to permit. So that puts us in a very unique position, especially when you add that to the fact that, for example, one of our board members, Steve Robertson, was in charge of permitting and developing the Red Chris mine, which sits on the Golden Triangle, just 200 kilometers south of us, and is one of the most significant mine developments in BC. So, not only we do have kind of the permitting aspect or the permits that puts us in a very unique position, but also the people in the skill set to actually advance that in the best way possible. So it's a real great advantage, a great benefit to have as a company, and it's something that we value tremendously. Now, of course, there's a permanent amendment is not just doing this and expecting to have everything in production tomorrow, but it is a much shorter timeline, especially when you have also community support, which we are very blessed to have as well.
Now we'll get to the ESG and community part in a second, but just maybe I'll ask the question now. I wanted to ask it as a summary question, but maybe is a good point in time to ask now. Is like what's the business plan for Cassiar Gold? I think talking about the possibility of having a mine running on the project or a mill running on the project open some doors and possibilities. But I want to hear it from you. Is like what is the business plan? Like what's the end goal? What's your personal exit strategy? What are you working towards?
Yeah, but basically, our goal really is to define a tier 1 district that can be mined. And we know it can be mined because it has been mined in the past. We know we have a very large land package, 590 square kilometers. It's a massive district. Most of it we know is prospective. The rest of it, we just suspect it is prospective. So and what a tier one mining district is a 5 million ounce plus district. And when you look at the amount of drilling that we've done, The focus has been always to expand mineralization and get every step closer to that goal. When you look at the same time to the hit ratio we've been having, we step out, we hit more, we step out, we hit more. Many times from surface. We basically keep on expanding our basically our pit constraint deposit at Taurus. We're looking at a bunch of satellite targets. So our goal is really that. And at the end of the day, there's really two options you can go about in the mining scenario. We either can build it ourselves, or we can sell it to a mid-tier or major, which is basically the model for most juniors. Now we are in a very unique position. Why? We have the social license, we have the skill set in the board that has done it multiple times before. We have a much lower barrier to entry because we have the mining permits, we have great access, great infrastructure, fully owned and permitted mill, mine permits. So a lot of the costs are already sunk. So this combination is quite unique and is very, very hard to find in the junior mining space. It really puts us in a very unique position to potentially develop this ourselves. Now, we are always going to continually assess what is the best way to provide the best return or the most return to our shareholders in the shortest amount of time. That's probably going to be, at the end of the day, an M&A exit, like a sale to a mid-tier or a big producer. But not all or most juniors don't have the optionality of putting or the barrier to entry or the optionality to put into production themselves is much higher than ours. So it's a very unique combination that we have here.
Yeah, Marco, I'm glad you didn't say we're going to go into production and fund exploration from cash flow. I've heard that too many times, and I've seen it fail like 99% of the time as well. Doesn't really work because it's as you said, it's a sort of a lack of expertise. The board is maybe more exploration focused. Various reasons. I just don't like it personally. Let's leave it at that. And I'm glad you didn't say that. But let's talk project. Let's jump into the exploration side because you have Cassiar North and Cassiar South, two distinct projects, like very different actually in terms of geology and maybe mineralogy. One is higher grade, one is lower grade. One is more bulk malleable, the other one is more high grade veins. Run us a bit through like what's the focus? Like where have you drilled the most? Like which one are you targeting first?
Yeah, so our priorities. So that's right. We have two key project areas within the Cassiar Gold Project. Cassiar North in north of the highway, Cassiar south of the Highway 37 in this case. That separates our project into. You don't have a clear geological boundary. And in fact, in these orogenic gold systems, which, by the way, it's 60 or 70% of the historical gold production on a planet, you tend to have kind of like these two kind of styles, both the bulk tonnage disseminated as well the sheer high grade veins. Um, Although historically, just as a function of the gold price, most of the high grade stuff it has been the focus. Now, despite not having a clear geological boundary, you do see, and that there's some relation to stratigraphy there and geology. And I don't want to get too technical on that front, but you do see in the north mostly bulk tonnage near surface open pitable targets like the Taurus deposits, which basically is outcropping with an overburden on average 10 meters, and with 90% of the ounces at Taurus being within 150 meters from surface. So it's very shallow deposit, and it's wide open laterally at depth. There's room to expand internal to the pit shell, and that's really what we've been doing. The Cassiar South, it is, in nature very different. These are the shear veins. These shear veins are on average 3 meters wide. This is where we have most of the 25 kilometers of underground workings. This is where we have 15 of our 17 historical portals. All the portals are connected with power lines to the mill, which is fully owned and permitted. And all of these vein systems are open along strike and down dip for extension. There's significant sections, although we don't have a resource in the south. There's significant sections there that are basically unmined or high grade material that is unmined and open for expansion as well. In terms of the focus, we've been focusing mostly on the bulk tonnage, open pitable targets, and that's been a conscious decision. We feel that we can grow our resource faster, and grow our tonnage and our resource faster by focusing on the bulk tonnage, because typically we're hitting, in most cases, from surface on the Taurus deposit and on the other targets that we're satellite targets that we're basically uncovering now as well. Uh, on the high grade underground veins we have at Cassiar South, we've maybe been allocating 15% or 20% of our drilling over the last few years. Of course, they're recently, although these veins they pinch and swell, and there's a negative effect, but we feel that these margins are very attractive. They're probably much higher margin, and also a little bit more exciting. But if you want a steady growth and more bang for your buck, or more ounces per meter you drill, we feel that the bulk tonnage is a place to go, and that's really what the majors, the mid-tiers and majors, at the end of the day will be interested in, because I think a major is much more interested in a 5 million ounce plus at a gram than the 1 million ounce resource, even if it's at 15 or 20 grams. Just because of the speed at which they're depleting their reserves and resources as well.
No, flashy is not always better. So, no, good point there, Marco. Let's come to the here and now, 2024. Maybe we can recap the program real quick. You said like only 15-20% of the resources were dedicated to Cassiar South. Tell us a bit more, like where did you place the drills? I think you completed the program at the end of the month, or at the beginning of November, end of October. Give us a bit of an overview, and what can we expect coming out of that program?
Absolutely. So we this year we've drilled 7,200 meters. There was 30 drill holes. 27 of them were focused on basically at the margins of the Taurus deposit. Like every single other program before, we're focused on expansion. Our first objective is expansion. Second objective is expansion. Third objective is expansion. Expansion of mineralization. And Taurus is open for expansion. We continue to expand there. We also put 3 holes this year at the New Coast target. That's 2.5 kilometers south of the Taurus deposit. It's a place where last year we put 6 drill holes there. They all came back mineralized. The highlight there was 90 meters at 0.95 grams per ton. So kind of similar widths and grades to Taurus. And we believe that New Coast has a significant potential to be a satellite target. And if it has a similar size, which we don't know how big Taurus is going to be yet because it's still growing, but if it has a similar size, it could take us a long, long way into our kind of 5 million ounce vision of the district. So that's something we're quite excited about. We have other targets as well, but in addition to that, we also completed over 70 square kilometers of geophysics, DrillMag, IP, VLF. The VLF being on the Cassiar South part of our property. We also conducted a bunch of really 2 really big soil grid surveys to the north and to the south of Taurus, kind of along that 15-kilometer trend that bisects our property. A lot of mapping. The more mapping we do, the more outcrop we're finding. And what's interesting, and this is the really exciting part, is we're seeing similar styles of veining, similar styles of mineralization, same basically characteristics in the mineralization in the outcrop that you see at Taurus, and also similar grades, 0.5 gram to 2 grams. So that, and in an area that is many, many times the footprint of Taurus. So the more work we do, the more mountain of evidence is piling up into the prospectivity, is pointing to the prospectivity of this land package. Of course, at the end of the day, what you really want to do is bring the truth machine out there and drill it, and that's what we've been doing, not as fast as we'd like to, but at the speed at which dilution allows us to, because we have to be conscious of that. And the truth is, the hit ratio we've been having is really demonstrating a bigger and bigger system. So that's kind of the catalysts, or basically the work we've done, which are also at the same time the catalysts that are ahead of us. And in addition to that, in late Q1, early Q2, we plan to put out updated resource in 43101 to translate all the success we've been having since the last resource update in early 2022, or basically in the last 46,000 meter plus of drilling, where we basically only missed mineralization in significant widths above the cutoff grade, which is 0.5, in 2 of the holes, out of you know, over 200 we've drilled since we took over the project.
No. Marco, I got to put you on the spot, but are you providing the market with any type of guidance in terms of resource update number, what it could look like potentially? What are you guiding?
Well, I have to be careful not to make
I,
forward-looking statements here. I think people can expect it to grow, and that's all I'm going to say.
Oof, glad. Okay, perfect. No, I'm glad that's happening. So you got about 19 holes, I think, still pending from the project. What's sort of the release schedule? Like, how are they coming in? Like, how are you planning to put those out?
Yeah, I think probably we'll be able to release everything by late January, early February in terms of the drilling. Um, yeah, I think by mid-February, late February, we'll have all of the drilling, all the geophysics, and potentially the mapping. And then I guess following that, the resource update. This is, take this with a pinch of salt. You put plus minus 2 weeks in everything I'm saying, because it's depending on the labs, it's depending on QA/QC, it's depending on the interpretations from the team, in terms of what we're seeing and the results that we have, and also time to prepare the press releases and putting them out. But it's going to be heavy news flow, basically from here till spring.
No, I should have looked this up beforehand. But what reserve price calculator, or what price did you use? Gold price did you use in the last mineral resource update?
The last mineral resource update is 1,800 US.
And you're going to maintain that, or are you going to increase it, or like what's? Do you have an inkling? I know it's a bit early days. You probably haven't even started calculating, but any idea? Are you going to go higher, lower, same, just to keep it comparable?
I definitely don't think we're going to go lower, but I think we're probably going higher. But I think that we will have to go through the process to see, geological confidence, cutoff grades, price. But I would be surprised if we don't increase the gold price. 1,800 is I think is a price of the past, and I don't want to get the conversation into gold, and I'm a consummate gold bug, but I think I don't think we're going to see that price ever again. But we'll see.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not, Marco. Maybe last question. What can we expect the next 3 months from the company? Sort of just to summarize what you just mentioned.
Yeah, a lot of news flow. So basically the drilling, that's the balance of the drilling results we haven't released. And again, when you look at our history, we have a very high hit ratio, almost 100%. You can look at all of our press releases. So out of the 30 drill holes, we'll have basically 19 still pending. We have geophysics, mapping, and sampling. So over 70 square kilometers of DROMAG, IP, and VLF surveys that we've conducted, and then of course the resource update. So that's going to be until February, March, April of next year. Very heavy news flow. That's going to be basically going to be in tandem with a lot of marketing as well, because our story is quite undervalued when we look at what we have in our share price, the cash that we have, all the good things we have going for us. It's I think it's a really unique opportunity here.
Yeah, I have the feeling we'll be talking a lot more with each other in the coming months. So really looking forward to catching up with you more regularly, Marco. And thank you so much for the update. Thanks so much for coming on. And to everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in here to the company introduction of Cassiar Gold. We'll put all the relevant information, company website, ticker, and everything down below. And by the way, ticker's GLDC. And I had to look it up 10 times until Marco explained to me what it means. And it's gold Cassiar, meaning in the Cassiar Gold District. So I had it explained to me because I had to look it up like 10 times because it just wouldn't stick. Now you have an explanation as well. And I hope you can find it more easily now as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a comment, leave a like, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll be back with lots more. Cheers.